And stopping by the carne asada for a few minutes is the manager for your Los Angeles Dodgers, Dave Roberts. Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Just got a in-house, in-stadium haircut, and getting ready for Game 161 tonight.
You got to take care of the show hair, so I can appreciate that.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
So, wanted to start it off with first and foremost, how's everyone doing? Because I wanted to ask you. You gave the perfect answer to a bunch of criticism, if you will, to the media on Sunday about you have fans that are kind of in different subsets, and I feel like that was the perfect answer that anyone has ever given. So kudos to you first and foremost for that transparency. But what's the vibe like right now in the clubhouse?
I thank you for that. I appreciate that. It was honest. I'm sure there's going to be debate on my answer, but I appreciate your support. As far as in the clubhouse, we're in a good spot. I really do. I think that you always want to kind of feel that you're playing your best baseball, and then it just plays through October. That's not always the case. So I think that my barometer is health, and then also kind of the psyche, the mindset, and we're in a really good spot. So just to kind of finish these two games, I know that we'll be prepared for the postseason. So getting Gonsolin back yesterday, we'll get May back here, getting Trinan back. So Chris Taylor's kind of ailing right now. Justin Turner will be back in the lineup tonight. So getting the pieces back, and then once we get together, then I expect us to play really good baseball.
Absolutely. And before I send it over to the Princess of Positivity, Alicia Del Valle, I need to ask you, is Julio Urías the National League Cy Young, yes or no? I'm a yes. I don't see how it's not a yes.
Absolutely he is, without a doubt. I know that Sandy Alcantara got a lot of traction, momentum early on in the season, rightfully so. But I just think that, playing for one of the best, if not the best team in baseball. I mean, we're the best team in regular season. We got to go out there and prove it in the postseason. But as far as the Cy Young, he's pitching for the best team in baseball, the ace of the best team in baseball. What he's done performance-wise, I just don't see the other side. I think that people would argue that Sandy's pitched more innings, but for a team that is playing with expectations to play through October versus a team that their season is over tomorrow, yeah, you can push a guy and get innings here and there that accumulate more in a season, but we just don't have that. Fortunately, we don't have that luxury. We got to take care of our guys and know that we're playing an extra month of baseball. So to your question, my long-winded answer is he absolutely is a Cy Young winner.
Yes. No, it's perfect. I mean, if anything, it's for you to campaign. So that's what it's for, right? Go ahead, Alicia.
Well, funny you said that, Alonso. That word campaign. And hello, good.
Hi, Alicia. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a peach. How are you?
I'm so good.
How exciting. We're so pumped up. Thank you for joining us. I know you got a lot going on, especially it's JT's bobblehead tonight. I wanted to bring up what my co-host just brought up, the campaign. So last night on Twitter, well, actually yesterday afternoon, it was brought to our attention that there is a campaign on the Alcantara side that they sent out messages in a bottle. A, have you seen that? And B, is there a plan for the Dodgers to do that? Or is that not tradition? Because I truly don't know. I know about the Heisman campaign, right? But is there one for the Cy Young? And what are we going to get for Julio?
You know what? I didn't see the Sandy campaign, and I don't know if there is a Julio campaign. I do think that that's a great idea because players, as there is some self-promotion in sports these days, Julio is not that guy, and so I do think it makes sense for us, the people around him that support him, to go out there and campaign. So I'm going to dig into that. I love that thought.
Yes. And if you need any help, the Blilos podcast is here for you.
All right. Sure.
Let's get that campaign going. And one other thing, Dave, I constantly, in fact, all of us, we are so spoiled as Dodger fans, right? I mean, year after year, and I cannot thank you enough for leading the ship in that direction. That's the first thing. And secondly, when my co-host asked you about how's the clubhouse feeling, how is the vibe, right? What about you, Dave? What about Dave Roberts? Like, what do you do to get home and or in the cars or something you listen to? Like, I just want to get behind the scenes a little bit.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't get that question very often. Thank you for that. You know what? I'm doing great. I just I just love pouring into the players, the coaches, the organization. And, you know, I take pride in the fact that we have so much consistency. And, you know, what we see on the field, our guys are better character guys off the field. I'm telling you, the way they treat hotel staff, stadium staff. And so that's something I'm proud of. As far as me, I don't do a good job myself. It's something I've tried to, I talk a good game, but I don't put that plan into action very often. So I do try to go for walks and get some time by myself, because when I am around, it gets all consuming, which is understandable. But I do like the time in my car, just time by myself. I do like that quiet time for sure.
Nice, good. Stick with it.
Thank you, Alicia. I appreciate that.
We're no good to anybody if we're not taking care of ourselves. Okay.
100%.
Don't want this to be a TED Talk, so I'm going to send it over to Juan.
Dave, you know, you've been doing this now for 7 years. In all 7 years, you've been in the playoffs. You've had to deal with a playoff roster. You have the reputation of being a player's manager. Your guys are going to be looking at the playoff roster. I mean, all season long, you've had to motivate 26 guys and tell them, hey, you need to be ready whenever you get called on. Now it's a little different when it comes to the playoffs. You're going to have some uncomfortable conversations. What has changed for you? What approach do you take from the first year when you were leading this team to the playoffs to now this year in dealing with those conversations with players?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I don't think anything's changed. It never gets easier. I think that approaching it, attacking it with empathy, I think is really important. You know, I'm the person who's always trying to sell the player on the organization, the long view, the process, and winning a championship. We're all in it together. And then, yeah, to your question, when you get to the 1 yard line, you got to tell player A and B that they're not going to be on the postseason roster. That's a tough conversation. And as a competitor, these guys are disappointed. They're upset. They don't get it. They don't agree with it a lot of times, which I respect. And so it's just, you know, it's something that it could change as the playoffs go on, which is a talking point that I do message to the guys to keep their heads involved after the kind of initial blow kind of settles in. But it's never easy, because I think that to sell something, sell people on something, and then they ultimately don't feel that they can, you know, be like literally a part of it on the roster, that's tough. It's a gut punch. But I have a lot of these tough conversations, and those conversations are probably the biggest source of all my gray hairs, because, you know, you want that buy-in, and then when you can't follow through and you still want that buy-in, but in their eyes, sometimes that they're not part of it, hurts a little bit, which I absolutely understand and respect.
You know, one of the things that I think we always lose sight of as fans is that the fact that you guys are human beings. And I thought there was a moment, and I wanted to follow up with you, when Pujols hit that 700th home run. They had the camera on you, and it looked like you jumped out of excitement. And I sat there and I was just like, Dave's not rooting for the other team, but you lose sight of the fact he managed Pujols for a year. He has a relationship with him. The guy also hit 700 home runs, and I don't know if we're going to see that again. I mean, did you get caught up in the excitement there, or what was that reaction?
I was caught up in the excitement in the moment, and I think that, you know, my reaction was Bob Guerin is my bench coach, so you see the ball off the bat, so I'm trying to look up to see the ball off the bat, the trajectory, and to see where it lands. It's not like I was up there putting both my hands up, celebrating, you know, the second homer of the game against us. But I'm still a fan, and I'm an Albert fan. And so in that moment, the anticipation showed through, and I don't apologize for that. I think that, if he couldn't hit it 700 in St. Louis, he should have hit it here at Dodger Stadium in front of the fans that supported him, and in his words, sort of revived the last part of his career. So I'm grateful for that. And we all love sports, and sometimes it's bigger than the Dodgers, and it's about the game of baseball, the entirety of it, and sports. So it's a great moment for Albert, his family, and I was fortunate to be a part of it.
Before I send it back to Alonso, as a tribute to you, I think you should get credit, especially for what Pujols said. Not only you, but the organization, everyone revived that guy's passion for baseball. And the fact that the Dodgers were able to do that to a future Hall of Famer, that is something that is a tribute to how you run things, Dave.
Yeah, thank you very much, Juan. It's a credit to a lot of people. I believe in our culture. When we're together for 9 months out of the year, ups, downs, injuries, frustrations, to kind of weather that, you've got to have a strong culture and people that like and care about each other. And Albert saw that initially and thrived, and he made people around him better. And to this day, we feel his effect on our clubhouse. So it was great. And to be a little footnote in his trek is pretty amazing.
I mean, you guys gave us Theo Albert. I mean, it was the Dodgers that gave us Theo Albert and the hugs. So
That's right.
Go ahead, Alonso.
Before we set Dave Roberts, the manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers, loose, speaking of culture, we're all about LA culture, we're all about taco culture, and we're the only all-Latino podcast. So I have to ask you, when you are taking care of yourself, because you do have, in my opinion, the fittest coaching staff in all of baseball. Dino Ebel is a madman, and that dude's, he's probably running right now, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, he probably is, but he needs some more carne asada tacos. I'll tell you that.
And knowing Dino, you're not wrong. I was going to ask you, what is your favorite taco, and where do you go get that taco? And it doesn't have to be in LA proper; it can be anywhere.
No, I'm all about street tacos, carne asada tacos. I do all the onions, the cilantro, the limon. I'm all about carne asada, so I'm not too picky. And to be quite honest, in LA, I just don't get out much. I kind of go from home to the ballpark, and but whenever they come in, and Adrian Gonzalez, former teammate of mine, I coached him, and one of my best friends. So he's sort of my source for carne asada tacos. But I can eat Mexican food all day long.
There we go. That's the right answer right there.
Yep.
It's the honest answer.
But not only is it the honest one, it's the right one. We actually had Adrian on last year, and he said the same thing, carne asada. That's his go-to all day.
I mean, that's my go-to. If I could have carne asada and a michelada, you won't hear a boo from me.
Oh, wow. Michelada man right there.
Making me hungry. All right.
Now you're invited to all sorts of carne asadas in the greater LA area now.
Yes.
Well, Dave, we're all also about giving people their flowers. I've been a huge proponent of it because I don't like it when they roast you on the internet for stuff. We're so lucky to have you as a manager, so thank you. I cannot say that enough.
100.
I appreciate you guys having me, man. You guys are the best, and take care, and let's get it this year.
Let's do it. Dave Roberts, the manager of your Los Angeles Dodgers, thanks for stopping by. Send the man some carne asada tacos, too.
Yes.
See you, Dave. Thank you.
Bye, Dave. Thank you.
All
Big thanks to Dave Roberts for stopping by to chop it up for a few minutes. For those of you that don't know, the Bill Plaschke article that I prefaced with Dave came out on the 2nd. I don't know what day of the week it is, so I apologize. But whatever day the 2nd was, I read that article, and he kept emphasizing Ask Me in October. And Bill kind of pointed out that those are the 4 words that define a culture, that turn blessings into a curse, all that sort of stuff. But the main kind of takeaway from that article is when Dave, when Dave was asked, as far as, the attitude goes, that they, everything that they signed up for, the highest payroll in baseball, all the expectations, right? He was asked as far as the sentiment goes from from criticism. And, he said, I'll read this quote just to give you guys an idea. Quote, fans are fans for a reason. They've never put on a big league uniform, Roberts said, but we want to win a championship just as much as they do. If not more, our jobs depend on it. We're in the grind every single day from February 15th, every single day. But he also separated the fans into two groups, those who judge the team only by October and those who appreciate the entire summer. So, and I'll read this last quote just because, again, it surmises it all. So there are fans, some subset that feel that they don't get interested until the postseason, and the season is defined by that. That's their prerogative, he said. Then there's the other subset of fans that can appreciate what goes into winning, having the season we're having, and understanding that there's a lot of things that happen that play out in a postseason that are unpredictable. That subset is in with us no matter what and really appreciates that this is a great team and they're prepared to handle any result. So that's why I prefaced that with Dave, because I feel like that's the perfect answer that a guy can give, especially with the expectations that come with his job. He's in an unenviable job, if we're going to be completely honest, because there's people that can handle that pressure and there's people that can't. And the minority is the people that can't, right? So, or the majority, I'd say. So I think, Dave, we've talked about it here a bunch. Dave does not get the flowers that he deserves, especially from the internet, but the internet's a pit of despair, so let's just be completely honest. But Juan pointed it out. He's the guy that's in charge, but he's not only righted the ship, but the culture that they carry is something that you won't really see anywhere else in baseball. And I did like how candid he was about that. Juan, what did you think?
Well, look, I'm going to tell you this. You guys all know how I feel about Don Mattingly. And we've spoken to a certain former Dodger player. I don't want to point out his name, but he basically agreed with me in terms of Don Mattingly. And I know there's a lot of people that love Don Mattingly as a player and think he's a great, fantastic player, which he was. But in terms of a manager, I don't think the environment that we see on the Dodgers right now, the culture that we have, was there when Mattingly was running this team. Now that Roberts is running this team, and maybe Andrew Friedman also had something to do with this, but you got to give Roberts credit, man. The guy's not going to win Manager of the Year, right? The team has won over 100 games, and he's not going to be considered for Manager of the Year. He's a victim of his own success. Every year since he took over this team, he's had them in the playoffs. So, yeah, we love to criticize him for why didn't he do this? And that's what I think got him in trouble with this article with Plaschke. It's because those quotes that you just read, Alonzo, specifically questioning the knowledge of the fans, none of these fans want to be told, hey, you don't know because you never played the game. And that's the one argument that every major leaguer can always throw at a fan. What do you know? You've never played the game. It's easy for you to sit there in your seat and criticize me. You come in here and try to hit a pitch that's 102 miles an hour, and then the next pitch you get is 90 miles per hour, by the way, with movement. And that's the thing. So I get what Roberts was saying in that. I really do. And I think he speaks to the cynicism in society, which I'm sure Alicia will appreciate and can probably speak to. But how many times do we measure now players based on championships? And that all started with the Jordan bullshit, right? So because Jordan went 6-0, no one can be good unless you go 6-0 in the finals, right? So Kareem is some fucking chump. Bill Russell, is not good, even though Bill Russell's won 13 championships. This is how we measure people. What the Dodgers, and Hershiser was talking about this on the broadcast the other night, is this is a historical season for the Dodgers. And in the end, we know this. And I think what Roberts is just saying is questioning is it right for everything they did this year to get thrown out if they don't end up winning the World Series? Because the postseason is crazy. Ask the 1988 Oakland A's, who won over 100 games and ended up losing to what many people consider one of the worst World Series teams on paper, that Dodgers team that beat them. So anything can happen in the postseason. Right, Alicia?
You're making me nervous. Yeah.
The anxiety's back, guys. It's back.
I know. Yes, and yes, and yes. And I'm so glad that you guys are giving Roberts his props because I mean, think of the position that he's in. He's damned if he does, he's damned if he doesn't. So he's constantly walking the fine line of not just managing grown men playing a game with high stakes. And one, I love that you bring it up that it's tough for fans to remember they're human, they're not robots. So again, he's managing them. He's creating a culture of winning, of brotherhood, right? I think pretty much they all do get along and have the same focus, which is to win. So kudos and bravo to Dave for that. But then he also has to ride that wave of social media, PR. He's got to say the right things and not alienate people. And he's got to be careful he doesn't say the wrong thing because he'll never live it down. I mean, it's just unfair that he's got to be perfect. And nobody's perfect. And I totally am all in with what Alonso brought up and Juan about the cynicism, about the perfect answer that Dave Roberts had. And then again, there's going to be some Dodger fans that are just never going to relent. And I'm not going to point out whom I think he's specifically talking about, but
Howard Cole? Howard Cole? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not, no dice nada.
Juan trying to start a Twitter fight.
In a perfect world, we would all just enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride, enjoy the process. And the world championship would be extreme icing on this cake. We eat. Our bellies are full as Dodger fans. We eat for how many seasons now? A dozen seasons. We eat well. And yes, do we want that chip? Oh, of course we do. But come on, like Dave is not perfect. I would, Dodger fans, we are far from perfect. A lot, and I'm not even going to call out my co-hosts because we all want the same thing. It's the same goal, like we're good. So yeah, I'm just happy that, we got to speak with him and he took the time because this is also the busiest time of the year. October is manic, right? Like there's so much going on. And yeah, I'm quite happy with the time that he gave us and his answers. And come on, Dodger fans, let's get on board.
Well, and before we hear from Roger, I wanted to read a quote that he said about cynicism. A reporter asked if he wished he ever longed for more unbridled regular season joy around Chavez Ravine, like in Seattle last week when the Mariners made the playoffs for the first time in 21 years on a walk-off home run, by the way. That was incredible. And he said, yeah, I do. He said, unfortunately, the world has gone very cynical, which is sad. And certain fans, not all, jaded, absolutely. And they don't realize what it takes, what this team in particular has had to overcome to get to this point. Roger, you've talked a ton about kind of the injuries and even criticism to a certain degree. What's your take on everything that kind of Dave hit on and also just that?
I mean, to me, the most important thing that Dave said is what we've been talking about now for a couple of weeks about Julio. What he thinks about Julio and that Julio should be the Cy Young. That's what I took the most important thing away from that. But as far as everything else, yeah, I mean, Dave has to take. I mean, even right now, they've won 110 games. They've lost 2 games, and there's people online that are like criticizing them for like, why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? It's like, who cares? Like, they can lose the next 2 games. And who cares? Like, they're set. They're already set. They know where they're going to be in the postseason. They're ready to go, and they're just getting everybody kind of in tune with that. I mean, he even said it last night. These guys, some guys are trying out new stuff. They're maybe tweaking a few things here and there. So maybe that's why the offense hasn't been there. But I mean, I just don't see when people criticize Dave Roberts how you can criticize him for what he's done over the last 7 years. I mean, if you want to criticize about like World Series records, like you were talking about, how the records, 1-loss records are. I mean, even Tommy lost, right? Tommy lost his first 2, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, just big props to Dave. I mean, just what he's doing. I mean, to me, has been. I can't imagine there another person that can have done this job.
It's perspective, and we won't. Is it going to be like this, Dodger fans? We won't appreciate until he's gone. Like, is that what it's going to take? You know, like.
Well, but that's what it is, Alicia, because I have to remind myself, even when I get mad in terms of like, oh, why did Roberts do this? I have to sit there and remind myself and go, do you want Mattingly back? Is that what you want? I mean, look, Babyface tells me this all the time when back in the, get Roberts out of there. Babyface always used to tell me, who else are you going to put in there?
It's true.
Who would you get to replace Roberts that's going to do a better job? And I get it. We get captivated in the moment. We're stuck in it. We're angry. It's emotional. But I mean, in terms of the cynicism, and when Plaschke asked him about the Mariners thing, I thought, bro, come on. When the Dodgers won the World Series in 2020, I don't know how many videos I saw of grown-ass men crying. There's one video that I will never forget, and it was a guy who was holding the jersey that his father's Dodger jersey, and his father had passed away, and he was holding it, waiting for the last out. And when that last out happened, he just crumpled to the ground, just crying. Why? Because he wanted to share that moment with his father. So the idea that the Dodger fans don't share in positivity, man, dude, Dodger fans want this World Series as bad as they want. That's why they act crazy and all that stuff. But what I want, before we move on to the Julio Cy Young thing, I do want to, have you guys seen Alex Verdugo's comments?
Yes.
About the 2020 World Series?
Yes.
No, I haven't, actually. I have not.
So basically, Verdugo is basically saying, yeah, it was a 60-game season, basically making it seem like
Mickey Mouse thing.
Yeah, the whole Mickey Mouse thing.
Yeah.
And, a lot of Dodger fans are pissed because I thought Alex Verdugo was a fan favorite. There was a lot of people that love Sweet Verdugs, and now he makes this comment, and now people are looking at him all side-eye, and it's like, dude, say that to Kike. Tell Kike and say, hey, man, your World Series doesn't count. I mean, is it a little bit of sour grapes that Verdugo got? Because if he was on that team, do you think he would still say that his World Series ring is a Mickey Mouse ring?
Bro, if anyone should know, it should be him. He's been in the show now for a year plus, and it's hard. It's really hard to win a World Series championship. In my opinion, it's probably the hardest championship to win. The second hardest is probably the NBA. And in that case, you had to play at a neutral site. You're not at home. You played every day, and you're not at home. Like, you don't have the commodity, you know what I mean? So it's, for me, that's why I still maintain that is probably the most difficult championship. That and the NBA won that year because they were both in the COVID bubble, that were the hardest to win. Go ahead, Alicia.
I was just going to count, that's part of his criticism is, what did he say? Like, anyone can ball up over 60 games or something like that.
Well, then why didn't anybody else do it?
Thank you. It was all equal, okay? It wasn't like the Dodgers were the only ones who played 60 games. Like, get over yourself. He's that ex-girlfriend that sees her boyfriend and get over their toxic relationship. Like, he's moved on to bigger and better, homeboy. Like, it's all good, Alex. Like, keep those comments to yourself because you're not getting to. We roll deep. Dodger fans, we are the biggest travelers. You know how we do it. And now he's being put on the list. Alex Verdugo is on the Bleed Los list. It was uncalled for, and it was all sour grapes, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, look, the thing is this, and that's why I so badly want the Dodgers to win the World Series this year. Yeah, just so I can stop hearing this, because people bring it up all the time now. Well, it's been a while since they've won, a full regular season. What the fuck is that supposed to mean? I mean, the 1981 World Series, there was a strike in the middle of that season.
In the middle of the season, yeah.
Nobody ever says, hey, the Dodgers won the World Series during a strike-shortened season. No, they won the World Series in 81. I want them to win it just so everybody can. I mean, they're still going to probably bring it up, but it's like, whatever, man. We got another. Yeah. Now what excuse are you going to find? Now what else are you going to do?
Well, and
then when Alicia gets the mystery ring for 2022 and walks around with a whole full bag of them, I'm still going to be asking for, where's my 88 ring? Can I get at the 88 ring?
How
Hashtag
dare
petty.
you? I'm innocent.
Before we move on to the Julio thing, in response to something that you said a second ago, Juan, people talk about, well, we got to fire him and move on and get another manager. So the Royals are currently in that position, right, where Mike Matheny is probably going to get fired. They got a new GM coming in. Who are you going to replace him with? Like there isn't any. Like they have to develop young guys, top down, all that jazz, and they have a whole world of problems. Who are you going to go out and get? You already had a guy that was there that was great, and then you moved on from him. Now Mike Matheny has kind of been exposed, and what are they going to do now? So it's really hard. It's really, really hard, even for a lower, I don't want to say lower tier because it's the show, but for a team that's not as competitive as the Dodgers to even get to that point, it's really hard. The Marlins, another example, your boy Don Mattingly. Like, same boat, right? Like, who are you going to go out and replace him with? So at the end of the day, give the guy the flowers while we can, because he's even if they don't win a game the rest of the way, they won 110 games. That's still borderline unheard of. Even their run differential has not happened for almost 100 years, since I think 1933. So you have to appreciate it while you can, because it's not going to be here forever. It's just not.
It's
Borderline, Alonso, that is unheard of.
Well, the reason I say borderline is because the Dodgers just did it.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's been over 113 years since anybody's done it. So it's like,
right, but
we're not going to see this again.
But if this current iteration of the Dodgers keeps on this pace, it's possible we could see it again.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way. I mean, but likely, I mean, it's unheard of, right? I mean, it just doesn't happen.
Well, and that's why we really do need to take the time. I know some people are going to be listening and go, God, these guys are really ball washing Roberts. I mean, but it's just like, look, you have to really take the time to just recognize it, because half the time we get caught up in the moment, and come game one of the NLDS, we're going to be, lo vamos a estar rayando, pinche Roberts,
Or in Alicia's case, she's just going to be a stress ball somewhere to slamming her hat like she's in the dugout too.
It's going to be like Rain Man, hot water burn baby, hot water burn baby. Yeah.
Well, and before we forget, speaking of giving them their flowers, he made a compelling case for Julio Urías, who we've been campaigning to receive the Cy Young. I mean, I still, after we had those two interviews with Rafael Arroyo and Jorge Castillo, I did a deep dive into the numbers. Even if you look at the data, I don't see how Julio Urías is not the Cy Young. I really don't. And no disrespect to Sandy Alcantara, none whatsoever. That's still a fantastic season, especially with just how good pitching is now. That's still a fantastic season. Julio Urías is the best pitcher in the NL. Basically, could be the best pitcher. I mean, if it wasn't for Justin Verlander doing what he's doing, I'd say he's the best pitcher in baseball. But Verlander's kind of pitching out of his mind too. Dude, I just don't know how else to say it. We just got to get the campaign going, don't we?
Well, and we bring it up because I don't know if anybody saw this on Twitter, but I guess there is an actual campaign, and I don't know who's running it. Do you guys know? Are the Marlins the ones that are running it?
I think it's the Marlins. I think
so too, but I cannot. I won't. I'm
actually looking right now.
For those of you who aren't familiar with it, they are sending bottles with a T-shirt, a Sandy Alcantara T-shirt in the bottle, to people who actually have a Cy Young vote. So, I mean, this is a campaign. And for those of you that listened to our last episode with Jorge Castillo and Rafael Arroyo and went to the comments and be like, you guys are shameless homers, it's like, it's not that, it's a lot closer than you guys think. Yes. Look, we're not, and Alonso just said it, we're not shitting on Alcantara.
Not by any stretch.
I think this is a culmination of a couple of things. One is that Julio didn't even get a first place vote last year, right?
Correct.
And the guy won 20 games. So a lot of this, and because this is a political award, say what you will, Alicia likes to say Oscars so white all the time. The Oscars is a political award. It's a political award. There's nothing. There's
the Grammys too.
Yeah, there's no way you can determine this is the best. It's completely different movies, completely different performances. It's not the same thing. The same thing could be said about the Cy Young Award. in a year, I will say this: I don't think this year there has been one pitcher that has clearly dominated. Okay, we don't have that. Alcantara has his supporters, and Julio has his supporters. So if we can help, and what I think we need your guys' help too, is to come up with ideas of what would be a good viral campaign to help Julio, to remind, and this is primarily going to be for those East Coast writers. This is all for the East Coast writers, because I think the writers on the on the West side who know, who have a vote, I think know. And we've talked about this. There's a Dodger tax that they're going to have to go through, but I mean, what ideas do you have, Alicia, of a campaign that we can do for Julio that'll go viral?
We should correct it. Campaign manager Alicia del Valle.
No.
That's right. That's right.
I haven't formally, we haven't formally sat down like a real campaign and thrown things at the wall and seen what sticks. But having Dave Roberts on and hearing, like, without hesitation, he said, oh, we definitely should be campaigning. And he said he was going to go talk to the Dodgers, and hopefully that happens. But yeah. I loaned our, help, right? Let's do this. I know that Babyface does not like my hashtag. I'm open to another.
It got really cold in here just now. Did you feel that shade, Juan?
Yeah, man. There's a lot of shade.
It's a team effort. Bottom line is we need to be campaigning for Julio, because it does not appear that the Dodgers have done so, not yet. And if they have a plan, that's awesome. But we don't know either way. So we got to get this going, because it does appear that the Marlins are already sending out messages in a bottle to campaign for Sandy for National League Cy Young. We know here that it should be Julio Urías Obvies. Maybe that should be the hashtag.
There you go, Julio Urías Obvies.
Obvies, like, hello. Like, and I put it on Twitter just now, like, what hashtag, and I'll probably get called a homer and all that, and I don't deny it, like, whatever. But this is also, if you're going to go the numbers game, we have evidence from Rocks. Even Jorge Castillo was saying, explaining and loaning. He was explaining how great Julio is and how overlooked he has been. And let's put some respect on his name. That's the first thing my father said when I said, I think we're going to start this campaign. Like, I think it's necessary. And the first thing he says, all angry, is like, he should have already won. He didn't even make the All-Stars. And my dad is a 72-year-old Dodger fan. He's been a Dodger fan his whole life. And he, as well as George Lopez, there are a lot of diehard, long-time Dodger fans who really think Julio has been overlooked and disrespected. But you can come from a place of positivity as well. Just sticking to this year, he still deserves the Cy Young.
And for 100%. Those of you just listening for the audio portion of the podcast, Alicia did pick up the name that she just dropped. So if you guys are worried, she picked it up. So
it was a casual pickup, but a pickup nonetheless.
Yeah, she picked it up.
I'm not going to ask George to retweet our campaign, man. We need some numbers.
Listen, I'm not obvious, right? I'm not opposed to inflating the numbers, but I mean, hey, sometimes you got to do that. You know what I'm saying? You got to drop the name and pick it up, and then go drop it again.
And
Roger. There was some shade a second ago here by the campaign manager Alicia del Valle about you disliking the hashtag. So the hashtag. So I mean, there's that one. The other one was Urias Cy Young. I think is on the table. That's the one that you want on the chopping block. What do you think?
Are you still frozen? I think I was frozen for a bit.
Oh, I'm Brent. How convenient.
I kind of froze.
Sorry, it wasn't shade. I want to.
It got chilly. It's already a nice 68 in here, and it dropped to like 65.
Yeah, there must be something in the atmosphere.
There's something. Greenhouse gas is something. Anyway, Roger. So what do you think the hashtag should be?
I don't know, just something short and sweet, like
Urias Cy Young,
or just Urias Cy, or I mean, try to keep it like 5, 6 letters, 7. I mean. I'm just thinking for Twitter.
That's what I'm concerned about is Julio or Julio Cy.
Julio.
Well, if someone's going to read it, it's going to say Juliasi.
That's true, though. It's true.
Nobody calls it the Cy anyways. They always
No.
say Cy Young. They
I have
don't
never
say-
heard anyone abbreviate the name of that award. Ever.
I think we just need to go to taco stands across America
Sure.
with our Julio for Cy Young award.
But for the sake of saving time-
Colici, Cy, I don't know.
But you're going to run into the same thing. There's going to be people that aren't going to be able to spell that like me. Like I'm going to have a typo. I mean, for Julio, for respect on Julio's name, I think we should go Urias Cy Young. Since he's been disrespected enough, I think that's the move. What do you guys
Right,
think?
and I agree. I understand the concern that there will be people who do not know how to spell his name. But if we get this going and it starts trending, guess who's going to learn how to spell his name? Everybody.
Everybody. And I can spell his name. I can't spell. Colici might throw me off a little bit. Plus I'm
That's
left-handed.
the first thing someone responded when I just tweeted what hashtag should we use, and this gentleman, Crispy Clean on Twitter, wrote El Colici. But it has nothing to do with Cy Young. There's a lot of Colicis out there.
And that's why I think we should. That's why I think we should go with Urias Cy Young because A, it's Julio Urías, and B, it's for the Cy Young. I mean, it's pretty black and white, no? And also for the sake of time, Juan, I agree with you. I would love to campaign at taco stands across America. I would be so obese
down.
after, but I don't even care.
Field
I don't even
trip.
care.
Field trip.
Yes.
Or do you
yes.
just want to go with Gui? Cy Urias Young. How's
You're gonna
that?
piss.
Gui.
You're gonna
El
piss
Cuy.
somebody off, Juan. You're gonna piss somebody off.
We'll call him El Cucuy. How's that?
That's so cool.
People will probably be able to spell that, and then they'll go to Urban Dictionary and be like, "Es el cucuy."
They're going to go start voting for Michael Myers.
That too. In the spirit of Halloween, though.
It
So-
is spooky season.
It is. Well, so if you're listening to this or watching this, depending on however you subscribe to the show, let us know your feedback. I mean, we have to figure something out in the next 15 or so minutes because the season's about to end. But I think, the leader in the clubhouse is Urias Cy Young, yes? Is that the leader in the clubhouse?
Yeah, I mean,
Alicia? Campaign manager? All right, Roger? Oh, he's reluctantly going to say it.
No, now I have to go adjust all the stuff I've done. So I'll just fix it.
No.
Babyface is at Dodger Stadium right now. Babyface, do you have somebody there with you? Are you talking? Are you mingling with somebody?
No.
Okay, never mind.
He really
I've
looked
been-
around, too. That's my favorite part. No.
He walked away. That who I was talking about.
Okay, all
Oh,
right.
okay. Well, so then for the time being, we'll go with Urias Cy Young unless something changes. And then sorry, Roger, that you're going to have to change up your design. But in the fairness of democracy, you didn't really give us much. So I'm just working with what I got.
Make El Cucuy happen. El
There you
Cucuy.
go. El Cucuy. Hey, Halloween merch. That's a missed opportunity, but we can make it happen.
That's right.
Huge thanks to Dave Roberts for stopping by because, like Alicia said a minute ago, it's the busy season, but it's the best time for baseball if you're in the postseason, of course. For the other teams that didn't make it to the postseason, my deepest condolences. I'd already given those to the Rockies when the season started, so my apologies. But I'm really excited for this postseason, and I'm also excited because Dave Roberts just gave us kind of a permission slip to campaign for Julio, so I'm cool with that.
We're running with it.
Let's do this.
We are. They may ixnay this, but you know what? He gave us permission, and we have it. We have the receipts. So how about that?
I mean, he's managing the campaign. He's our manager.
Well, technically, that's
At
you.
least in
You're the
spirit.
campaign manager. Yeah. And if you're following us, go check out Alicia's tweet. I just retweeted it to my 4 followers. All of you should also do the same thing. And then apparently she's gonna pick up some names and drop them so we can get some inflated numbers. So let's do it. Let's go with
Right.
it. Thank you to everyone for joining us, and thank you again to Dave Roberts and to the Dodgers for making him available for a few minutes. And also, he's a carne asada man, so he is always welcome here to the carne asada, regardless of that anyway. But anyway, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Go Dodgers.